Hello and welcome to our 7-8 minutes of weekly Torah talk. Our guest today is Rabbi David Kay of Congregation Ohev Shalom in Maitland, Florida. That's the Orlando area, and I understand. Hello, Rabbi, and thank you for being with us in such a busy week.
Thank you, Shmuel. It's my pleasure.
We are on the eve of Passover, of Pesach, and tomorrow, Pesach, we read, as you'd expect, the story of the day. The first pasuk of tomorrow's reading says the following: ויקרא משה לכל זקני ישראל ויאמר עליהם משכו קחו לכם צאן למשפחותיכם ושחטו הפסח. Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, draw forth or buy for yourselves sheep for your families and slaughter the Passover sacrifice. So, Rabbi, tomorrow we are not, or today we are not slaughtering anything. We are just talking. We replaced the sheep and the sacrifice with the Haggadah, right?
Yeah. That's the great innovation of our sages is that prayer can replace sacrifice, and that these last 2,000 years, plus or minus a century or two, we've managed to survive without the sacrificial system. Some would say we're doing better without it. There are those who would like to see it return, I'm sure, but I think the vast majority of Jews throughout the world are satisfied with the system that we have, and whether consciously or otherwise, are in the camp of really Rambam, who says to us that we should be pursuing Avodat Halev, that we should be going for the intellectual, emotional, spiritual connection with God, rather than using physical sacrifices to accomplish our worship. That's those are really sort of a tool to focus us, and that we've reached the point, hopefully, in our development as a society, as a civilization, and spiritually, that we can make that connection without those kinds of physical symbols.
Still, the reading of the Torah that we have for tomorrow begins with sacrifice.
Yeah, this is a hard time of year in general for those of us who are vegetarian like me. We're reading about sacrifices and barbecues and all kinds of things all through the book of Vayikra, through Leviticus, and even into Numbers. Just when you think you're done with it all, you've got the maftir for Pesach as well, which comes from Parshat Pesach well into the book of Numbers, where we're still talking sacrifices. It's vitally important to keep the memory of that. I hear this from students and even from colleagues sometimes. Why are we still reading this if we haven't been doing it? And that the way you understand where you are and where you're going is by remembering where you came from. Memory is vitally important within Judaism, certainly within Jewish practice. At the end of this festival, we are going to once again recite Yizkor. We're going to remember those who have passed away. We're going to remember future generations by reading these sacrifices, whether in the course of the annual cycle of reading the Torah or at their time of year as we do this Shabbat with the beginning of Pesach. We're making sure we keep that connection keep the continuity going forward. This parsha also, or this reading for the first day of Pesach, includes the question which is put in the mouth of the wicked child, right, in the Haggadah. We have the four sons, and the wicked son says, Ma havodah zot lachem. What is this? Yeah, lachem, to you. Why is this your thing? And we're supposed to answer him that you said you and not us, and so if you were in Egypt, you would have been left behind when everyone else is redeemed. The curious thing is that in our reading tomorrow morning, that question is the question that everybody asks. We're told when your child asks that question, you have to be patient and you have to explain the whole thing. the answer that we give to the simple child, or the child who can't ask a question.
Right.
So for me, that really emphasizes the fact that we're supposed to keep this connection, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally. The problem for the wicked son is not that he asks the question, but he asks the question. He is disconnecting himself from that chain of tradition. He's disconnecting himself from the people. That's why we answer him the way that we do. He's a very clever guy, right? He asks the question he's supposed to ask, but he's being snarky. He's being sarcastic, and so we call him out on that.
And sitting to the Seder table is in a way an answer, not just in the intellectual sense. It's also a way for us to have an inclusive, the whole family together. There's no you and us. There's only us, right?
Right. When we make that call for let all who are hungry come and eat, we're really saying that this is a communal table. This is a place where everybody belongs. Everyone has a seat at the table, both literally and figuratively. And this is an opportunity for us to reinforce that idea, that we're a community, that we're a people, that we are part of even a broader society and the world itself.
Right. And the reading that we have tomorrow is really the reading about the first Pesach, the real Pesach, the one of redemption and Exodus. Should we strive to have the same experience like they had in Egypt back then? Or do we try to remember that experience but have something somewhat different from what they had in real life?
Yeah, I think that's not an either or. I think that's an and.
Oh, okay.
That's a yes and. Yes, we should, and yes, we should. There's a good rabbinic answer for you, right? We can and we do. I do think that we are, in a sense, connecting to the past by reconstructing some of it. We're connecting to that biblical past, and we are more strongly perhaps connecting to our rabbinic past, because after all, the Seder and all of its symbolism is found in the Mishnah and the rabbinic sources rather than biblical sources. But nevertheless, in the course of fulfilling those rabbinic obligations, we're tapping into those early biblical ones. I also like the fact that the Torah really describes Pesach as two separate experiences. So that's the and. That's the
Right.
part of it. This is Pesach Mitzrayim. This is the one that happened then. There, it was a one-off. That was it. We're finished. And yet, it goes on to tell us that we're supposed to do this other thing year after year after year, which tells me that when you try to connect to the past, you can't recast. It's gone. So Pesach Mitzrayim, that happens. We commemorate it, but we can't produce it in our time. Instead, we can engage in this set of rituals that are set down in the Torah and are sort of expanded upon by the sages of the Talmud. And in that way, we connect both to our own generation, our immediate past generations, and all the way back to that one-time event.
Right. And we know that the Haggadah was not written by one person or at one time. We know that this is a compilation of many texts from many eras. Where are you on this question of should or shouldn't we add more material to the Haggadah as we move forward?
Here in the United States, we have what I like to lovingly refer to as the official Maxwell House coffee version of the Haggadah. Some decades ago, the coffees of Maxwell House were giving away free Haggadot. And many of the Haggadot, which are made in the United States, are based on the text that Maxwell House Coffee had. So right there, I think, if the coffees of Maxwell House can determine what the standardized text for the Haggadah is, then we can certainly tinker with that. In fact, if you read the Mishnah and you read the Gemara on the elements of the Seder, you're supposed to improvise. All you have to do with that passage of Aramia Vedavi, that my Andrew was oppressed by an Aramean or was a wandering Aramean, depending on how you want to translate. You just have to drash that out. You just have to discuss it. You're supposed to talk about it. Right. The printed Haggadah gives us examples from rabbinic sources of how those discussions went on. But that doesn't mean necessarily that we have to read every single one of those. We're entitled to, and we're encouraged to find our own way to drash those out and to discuss them. We just have to do it. We don't necessarily have to do it the way that it's printed by the coffees of Maxwell House or whoever else it was.
Rabbi, thank you so much, and I'd like to wish you Shabbat Shalom and Chag Pesach Sameach.
Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much.